Welcome to the regular meeting of Helotes City Council. It's January 26, 2023, and the time is 7 p.m. At this point, I'd like to call Mr. Willis Gray to lead us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please rise.
Heavenly Father, be with us tonight in this meeting, and we hope that the city council members can work with open hearts and open minds to make great decisions for the city of Helotes and its citizens. Bless this council and the city of Helotes that they may continue to work together and make the city of Helotes a better place for all of its citizens. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor and justice flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gray. At this point, we'll open the citizen to be heard. Do we have anybody signed up?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Online or in person? No. In that case, we'll move to the consent agenda. Looking for a motion and a second, unless there's any items that anybody wants to pull for items number 3 through 5 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I just have a question about number 4.
Okay.
This is the investment report. I was noticing that the city's quarterly investment that ended in this period was higher, which is good. The change in market value was 1,710,000, so it went higher, but the EDCs, they lost 368,223. So I was just wondering why theirs was lower and ours was high, or the city's was higher.
It's just because that we had to transfer some money to pay out some debt, between our debts and so forth. And it just shows that it's really lower. They didn't take a loss for it. It's just that in between this period, we were just moving money to different areas or having to spend that money.
So we had due to the agreement, they had a $325,000 payment back to the city. And so that reflects a change in expenditure. So.
And we have quite a bit more in our account than our budget from 8 million from last year. Anyway, I was just, the numbers just seemed a lot larger for the city, that's all.
Well, we have our total reserve fund. However, last month's sales actually took a decrease by nearly $400,000. We've been having a drop off of sales receipts actually, so it's much lower than what we had anticipated. And the biggest contributor to that is I've been talking to stores up and down Bandera Road. We're recognizing about a 20% decrease in business due to the tech stock construction. So actually we are actually below what we had estimated, even with our conservative estimate on the budget time. We do believe that there is a one-time hit due to an audit from a company, but we're trying to get verification of that. We'll find that out over the next couple of weeks. But as far as the major difference on the EDC side was due to a large expense.
Okay.
One-time annual expense there.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to clarify that.
Certainly. Any other questions or items? Well, in that case, we're looking for a motion and a second to approve consent items 3 through 5 as written.
I move that we approve consent agenda items number 3 to 5 as written.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. With no discussion needed, all in favor of approving items number 3 through 5 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we'll move on to the mayor's report. This is one of the items I want to talk about is, of course, the bulk and brush pickups. This has been a topic that I'm putting out on the message from the mayor on our website, as well as we will see plenty of social media. We're going to continue to put this out frequently. There still seems to be a little bit of confusion. We did have, C6 was bought out by Republic. They are keeping all the terms of the new contract of C6. However, in the transition period, Republic was doing us a favor of just picking up all the bulk and all the brush, whether or not anybody had actually called in and scheduled it. But that's lending itself to some creation of perhaps some bad habits. And really, it's just a transition period effective April 1. If you do not call in to schedule for your bulk pickup or your brush pickup the following week, it won't be picked up. Again, each community has their week of the month. For Iron Horse Canyon, we are the second week, right? So as an example, Iron Horse Canyon is the second week. So on all the odd months, January, March, May, et cetera, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, will be bulk pickup, and all the even months will be brush pickup on the second week for Iron Horse Canyon. Another community will be on the third week, another community will be on the fourth week. But as long as, if your week is the second week, as long as you call by Friday of the week before, your brush or your bulk will be picked up on the following Thursday. So please get in the habit of calling to schedule. You can always call for additional brush and pickup, but that is at an additional cost because it's a separate trip charge that you are contracting outside of as additional goods and services purchased. So realize that there have been a couple of problems and glitches where people got billed because they called in and the Republic and their customer service hasn't quite got up to full speed of that the monthly is in fact included in our bill. But a second pickup or an off-week pickup would be an additional charge. We do have a blood drive coming up in with partnership with University Health. It will be Tuesday, February 21st, right here in City Hall at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please log on to the website. I believe you need to, certainly would be helpful to schedule an appointment. That way you can get in and out with limited waiting. Happy to announce in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, we have the State of the City. It's being presented at Flores Country Store. I'll be delivering that presentation February 23rd from 11:30 to 1. Tickets are available on the Chamber of Commerce website. I believe they are $30 a piece. That is also a fundraiser, I believe, for Chamber of Commerce, as well as it does cover lunch and various expenses associated with that event. Finally, for the mayor's report, I do want to deliver some clarification of details. At a previous meeting, it was brought up that there were some rumors and some incorrect statements, and certainly we want to take responsibility anytime we had information that wasn't 100% accurate. So to bring some clarification, and I reached out and spoke with our attorney. Our attorney was not here in 2009. His firm was, but he was assigned here in 2012, correct? So it was a different attorney that was here at the time. Neither our current attorney or other people that I had reached out to were familiar with a settlement. In fact, we were under the impression there was a judgment. But to bring some clarification, damages in that case, which goes all the way back to 2005 to 2007, when Walmart was wanting to purchase from Bayless Miller a piece of property that was properly zoned for a Walmart, and the then council blocked an appropriate use of the property, and that led to a suit for damages. Texas Municipal League is who we utilize. It provides defense in suits against the city, and they do cover, for the most part, any claims against the city, unless the claims involve charges of conspiratory and a few other rare cases, in which this was one that did. So the individual council members were, or could have been found personally liable. This is the dangers, and really the point of the thrust of the statements that I made is that we have to beware, because we could be on the hook for, in the case of the previous court case, which was compensatory and punitive damages, which are determined by the court. The speaker did bring out to the point that there was a settlement, and it was for $75,000. It turned out to be a very generous and helpful settlement. So it was, a settlement was procured. And so that information, there was a little bit of,
And the city didn't pay for it, the Texas Municipal.
in that particular case, Texas Municipal League did in fact cover that aspect of it.
There were legal charges. They were legal charges.
Legal charges, correct. The point being is that we want to make sure that we do things right in law and not chance that we get a good settlement from doing something that's wrong. We want to do the right thing and realize that there was a lot at risk there, and it certainly could have been a very, very expensive and costly mistake when you unilaterally trample on property rights, especially when it's zoned for a building and so, or for a particular use. And so that was the intent of making sure that we don't repeat mistakes that were made in the past. At this point, we're going to move on to item number 7. It's under old business, but we're looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 7 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on agenda item number 7.
I'll second.
Motion by Sanders, second by Sones. The big item that we have here is that, as we know, we had extensive conversation about a particular photo. The photo turned out to have not been submitted by Mr. Villanueva, but it actually was submitted by the sign maker in an attempt to give an idea of what the colors would look like on the building. It did cause some confusion since then. As seen in your packet, there's an actual picture, and Councilmember Sones, you had gone by and taken some pictures yourself. The frame is now actually on the building for which the sign would be attached to, which gives not only a guesstimate, but an exact location of where the sign would be. And so with that additional information, I'll turn it over for any comment or question.
Well, I thought it was appropriate for me to make the first motion, since I think I did that the last council meeting, and I think I started all this. So anyways, this is exactly what I was looking for. So if these photos would have been in the last package, I think this would have been, rubber stamped, so to speak. Anyways, it's perfect. I'm happy. I 100% support it.
Excellent. Councilmember?
Well, and I just ran by today because one of the concerns in the last council meeting was, because it's the entrance to Old Town, and I think Councilmember Massey had said we want a symmetry to that building, and none of the pictures showed me the whole building. So I went and took pictures of the whole building, and I was satisfied that there's a sense of order and symmetry with the placement of the two signs. So I recommend approval as well.
Okay.
I have nothing to add.
Sorry? Nothing?
No, I'm happy with the new submission.
Perfect. Okay, in that case, all in favor of approving item number 7 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we're looking for motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 8 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on 8 as written.
I'll second.
I believe we have Glenn to be able to come up and give us a little EDC presentation. Glenn, thank you for coming.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry to bring this item before you again. It was previously approved by City Council on December 8th, and by the EDC on November 16th. Since that time, we'd actually received multiple applications for which we ended up having to deny the applicants this particular grant because of language that we added to the program, not, in my honest opinion, not realizing the full effect. And the language was that the applicant must receive approval by the board of directors before commencing work. So in reality, when that plays out, if we have a prospect coming in looking to sign a lease, he comes to us, applies, say in November, EDC doesn't have applies the second week of November even, not enough time to get it on the November agenda. Then it rolls to December. December gets canceled because of Christmas. Then it rolls to January. They're on the hook for 2 months of rent for the property, and they cannot commence still improvements until approved by the board of directors. So we think that is a shortcoming. We're proposing, and the EDC board approved, changing the language to allow the applicant to submit the application before commencing work, pending verification that they meet the minimum eligibility criteria in the program. and then I will issue them a letter certifying that they meet the eligibility criteria, but not approval of the grant itself. And that's why we're somewhat careful in the language in this application. The EDC board still has the right to approve or deny for any reason that they see fit. So far out, every applicant that has met the eligibility has been approved to date, outside of the new parameters. Open it up to any questions. you may have.
Two real quick questions that came up before we turn over. Number one is, there does seem to be a little bit of confusion too. First of all, I wholeheartedly agree. We shouldn't hold up somebody's construction pending approval. They get under the gun, or they get the application in, they start their construction. If they're approved, then they're awarded. If they're not approved, at least they're underway. But the question I would have is when it comes to certificate of occupancy. There has been some question of whether or not you needed to have a certificate of occupancy before you applied. And that seems backwards. You need to apply before you have a certificate of occupancy. But I think we've had an applicant that
Was confused with that.
was confused with
Yes,
that. And so really, do we need to have, if somebody already has their certificate of occupancy but had applied, would that be included, or where are we?
So in that particular case, I will be presenting that to the EDC board in February to let them make the determination. Because I think you might be able to make a case either way. That particular applicant submitted an incomplete document, but he submitted the application without all the background documentation for the grant program, and then waited until he got a C of O to submit his paperwork. So it was not considered by the board. So I would say that is one unique case. The language has been changed from the original. That was another part that particular applicant applied back in September. So there's been a lot of changes in the last 4 months.
Sure.
In the new application, it does state to receive reimbursement, you have to have a C of O. So we have to have proof that the city is approved of all of the improvements. Staff goes out and inspects the property as well. So we've tried to put it down step by step, step 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep it really simple. First step is submitting an application, providing a narrative of the improvements and an estimated cost proposal. And then I'll review it, see if it meets the eligibility criteria, issue them a letter to proceed. Meanwhile, we would then put it on the next EDC agenda for consideration of the grant. And then on reimbursement, once the project is complete, they have to provide not only the C of O, they have to provide proof of payment to all the contractors. Once that's been verified, then we issue a reimbursement.
Okay, turn it over to, let's see, who made the, Councilmember Massey.
These types of things happen, you do the best you can to put something together, and until it goes into the working, then you find out, oh, we missed this. I don't have any problems with that, and I think that this is a good thing to do. The only things that I found were grammatical, and it's very important.
Okay.
In the resolution, also in the executive summary, the word meet should be met because of the way it's written. Following grant submission and confirmation by the executive director that the applicant has met the minimum eligibility requirement, not meet.
Great.
And that's also in the actual program, the
I got it.
pamphlet. So that needs to be changed to met, not meet, to make it grammatically correct. The other one is the second highlighted on that. There's also the applicant bears all risk. Bears is spelled wrong, but also it doesn't denote the right connotation. You should probably, it says assumes all risks for expenses incurred, because that's what you're trying to say. You put B-A-R-E-S, that's the incorrect way to, it should be B-E-A-R-S. But again, assumes the risk is a better way to say that.
Correct.
I can send those to you by email, so just, So I just wanted to get those. It's really important to get those right in a resolution and actually in that thing. Other than that, I'm fine with the changes.
Okay.
Sir?
Good catch. Thank you. And I don't have any problem with this. I think this is a good thing for businesses that we catch this and that you're doing this.
Great.
Thanks, Glenn. You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
With no further discussion, all in favor of approving item number 8 as written, say aye.
I,
All opposed?
not as written.
Excuse me. All in favor of approving item number 8 with the items that were mentioned, the grammatical
Yes.
item changes as depicted by Councilmember Massey. All in favor of those, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on, we'll go to item number 9, looking for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 9 as written concerning the first tranche disbursement of the ARPA funds.
Mr. Mayor, I move we discuss and take action on agenda item number 9.
Motion by Sanders, second by
I'll second.
Merchant. Sir?
So I actually, this is all very straightforward, and I understand why there was a change. Some of these were ROMs on what we thought some of the costs would be for some of these expected expenditures. And turned out, in a good way, they came in way lower, or they were already covered under another contract or whatever. So that basically gave us $250K to actually reallocate, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, so what happened was we thought it was gonna cost over $250,000 to bring broadband, an actual fiber line that's dedicated to the city. After meeting with Spectrum, doing the construction, they realized that they had already brought in some fiber onto this side of Bandera, so the cost was gonna be minimal, like $7,000. But if we did a 3-year agreement through DIR, which is a co-op, it was gonna be no cost to us. So there's gonna be no cost for installation, and we will still, so we're in the midst of that project already and should have our dedicated line sometime between February and March.
So, yeah, that's all good. That's great news. And so, and what the city wants to focus that spending on makes absolute sense to me as well, right? We've been talking about supporting our first responders and the tools they need to do their jobs, dispatch. So I don't have an issue with any of that. For me, I'm good. I'm good with it.
Councilman?
No, after hearing you say that, that actually makes perfect sense. So I like the idea of that too. Good.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
All right, fantastic. With no further discussion, all in favor of approving item number 9 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Our final item for open session, item number 10, look for a motion and a second to discuss and take action on item number 10 as written concerning annexation of a property.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to discuss and take action on item number 10.
Motion by Merchant, second by
I'll second.
Crossan.
So initially, this looks like a good idea, but I'd like to hear staff's explanation on all this, if that's okay. Input.
So with the annexation, the applicant is actually coming and asking for two major variances. One is to a variance or an exemption from the tree mitigation, so to be able to remove more trees than what's allowed within our chapter. And then the second one is the mitigation fee. So usually if you allow variances such as that, you would do an in lieu of and get mitigation fee. So then we would not get the almost $100,000. So that's what he's asking. He's asking to be able to take out more trees and also $100,000. Now, for the city to recoup that, it would take almost 5 years because the sales tax in which this company provides is about 23,000 a year. And then property tax is about 1,500, so it's about 25,000.
It says here he's moving from 1604 to the backside of that, which was 1560. So doesn't seem like a very good business move.
Well, he has,
Highway.
he has to move due to that land is being sold and he's renting it, so he has to move. And the property that, the 5 acres is, he owns, so he's moving from a 15-acre property to a 5, and that is why he's asking for all those trees to
Gotcha.
be removed, to be able
So
to.
the other question I have is, that's Bear County right now. Why do we have anything to do with it? Can you explain that?
The-
If I understand.
That's in our,
It's under ETJ, so
Right.
they can ask for annexation. Yeah, they can ask for just annexation to be part of the city because they want our services.
Sure.
Or in this case, he's asking, okay, I will voluntarily annex the property if you provide me these exceptions. Because the thing is that in our ETJ, he would still have to come for a variance for those trees. Because we maintain the tree, as per in our local agreement with the county. So he's basically saying, instead of just coming for a variance and saying, I'm not gonna give anything back to the city, I'm willing to be annexed
To get,
to be, you
which
know.
will go on forever. And as
Right,
long as he
right.
owns that business
Yeah,
himself.
it does take about 5 years, but we'll also have to provide other services such as police and fire and stuff like that, yes.
so there are obviously two relative variances he's looking for in this process, but really it's a two-step. If you, one, to be annexed, right? The only purpose of annexing, if you did not annex, then you'd be asking for relief and we get zero out of the deal. So it really kind of turns out to be, well, if I annex, then we'll get those property taxes, if you will, and sales taxes. But I would encourage you to take a look at this project as if it was already in the city. It is in our ETJ, and what we're asking for is to really clear cut 100% of all the trees on there, all the allowable, all the mitigated ones, and all the ones that that were remaining that he's required to put on, to take those out as well too. And that's really kind of the question is here. Not only does he want to take out 100% with the potential of putting some back over the ensuing years, but to pay zero in mitigation fees, which, of course, has never happened in any of the Helotes properties. We've always collected the mitigation fees because that's what that's there for, and part of what our tree ordinance is to ensure that we keep trees on the property. So that's really to frame the question of what you're really looking at is, do we want to, of course, you all remember from years ago in Iron Horse when the moonscaping happened, all the trees were taken out completely. Now, eventually some were put back in, but that's what.
So he's asking, if you look at this map, is actually keeping, if I'm correct, Josh, the ones that are in that bluish green color and everything else to be removed. So he's actually already removed what he's allowed to remove. So what you're seeing here is what he's supposed to keep on the property.
But he's keeping the blue ones?
Right, but what he's asking is instead of keeping what's on the property and what's allowed, he wants to remove everything except the blue ones.
Is there going to be a fence?
He's here. The
He's here.
applicant is here.
Yes.
You
Mr.
wanna-
Arena, if
you wanna call him up?
Sure, if you want to come up and be able to answer some questions, that would be great, sir. Thank you. If you don't mind, just state your name and your company.
I'm Mike Arena. I own Buckhorn Soil and Stone. Several things, like she said a minute ago, I'm having to move because the property I've been on for 14 and a half years is being sold. I've been leasing it for all that time. It was leased probably 20-something years, and it's been a landscape yard for all that time. Gardenville had it, Hill Country Soil and Stone had it, and then I got it from Hill Country Soil and Stone. I am having to move to a much smaller property with the expansion of 1560. I think it's going to help me quite a bit over there anyway, but I don't think it's going to make a big difference as far as sales. We're running over 3 million a year right now, and I think it's going to help me to move there. I lease a building that's my office and my sales floor. It's a 60 by 64 trailer. I'm putting in a 4,000 square foot facility where I'll have basically 1,600 feet of offices and sales floor to increase my sales. And then I'll have a big warehouse, 2,400 square foot warehouse to be able to carry a lot of items that I don't carry now that I can protect out of the weather. And that's why I haven't been able to carry these other items. We're looking for our sales to actually go up by at least 30% right off the bat just because of things we can carry where we haven't been able to before. We get hounded a lot for certain items that we just can't carry. We can't protect them out of the weather. So 2,400 square foot of warehouse will do us really well to protect those items. The trees that I want to remove on the outside edge, that's all cedar. The middle that you see in the blue, that's oaks. That's why I'd like to leave them. But all the outside edge, it's all cedar anyway. I mean, it's just basically scrub brush cedar is all it is. So I want to protect your oaks for Helotes, and I want to replant some trees after I get everything situated and find out where I can strategically plant them where I'll have room for them.
I have a question, do you mind?
Please.
Are you going to have some kind, are you going to have an entrance of some kind that's attractive? Because the people coming right out of Beverly Hills, that's the street that's facing that.
Correct.
Directly. And so what are they going to be seeing when they come out of their subdivision?
We will have, actually, we're going to have an entrance and an exit, or two entrances, however you want to look at it, because the 18-wheelers are going to have to come in, make a loop through the yard, and excuse me, and come back out. So we'll actually have to have two. But yes, we will have some direct decorative fencing and a nice entrances. It won't be just junk. I don't want to have my business to be that way.
If it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Marion, but if eventually we do go forward with the annexation, any type of, then the property in his building would still have to come here as far as design, including.
Right, he'll have to do a
outside for
conceptual
approval.
design, has to come forward, he'll have to meet everything our code requires. Because right now in the ETJ, it follows Bear County. If it's the annex, he has to follow our permit procedures and everything else, the plating, stormwater, TIA, all of that, and it has to come to council.
Have you purchased this property already, or this is under contract?
No, that property I already own.
You already own it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And again, how is it going to be enclosed? Are you going to have a fence up all the way around this property?
For sure the frontage, but I would like to have one all the way around.
And what kind of fencing would that be?
I haven't got that far yet, but it won't be just a barbed wire fence or anything. It'll be something better than that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other?
So I do have one question. I'm glad that, Josh is here, because I think we discussed trees a few months ago, and I don't know if I'm recalling this correctly, but once we approve anything and the plan has gone forward, wasn't there a change in Texas law that pretty much says you can cut down anything you want once you have the property, or is that just for private property?
It's for residential,
Okay.
under 3 acres or zone, but this is over 3 acres and it will be used commercially, so they have to meet the letter of the law on the code.
Okay, so essentially, if we say yes to this, it has to meet it to the letter of the agreement then? Okay. That was my only question. I didn't get time to, shoot emails out to staff. I honestly don't know if I'm comfortable with eliminating that many trees. I understand the argument about the cedar. I think I'd like to hear, some more discussion, because I don't know, honestly, outside of Josh, and thank you for that, Josh. So that's all I have right now.
Councilmember John?
I'm just curious, was annexation something that was suggested by city staff, or was that initiated by the applicant?
It was actually kind of a combination. Josh went out there with the tree thing, and he said, you will need a variance for this. And so when talking to him, annexation came up, saying, that could be a possibility with annexation, because if you're just asking for a variance, then the city's not ever going to recoup any of this money or anything else, because you're asking for a huge variance, which I mean, we don't know as staff if he would approve it or not, but he would have to come asking for that regardless. So at that time, that's when annexation was discussed.
So at this point, we're really just looking at the annexation, not the approval of variances, but knowing what he's going to be.
Well, what happens is right now is if you want to go forward with the annexation, this will be basically contingent upon a development agreement with him on giving those variances. So you would work that out right now, but you'd have to give me direction on that, because that's what the public hearing would be.
So Frank, we would, if we move forward, contingent, it would be really just a direction to move forward with annexation pending that, and then it's still not annexed until we fully executed. Bring back a developer agreement that would be executed, and then.
That's correct. In order to begin the petition process, you accept the petition, but then you still have to have a public hearing for annexation, and you still have to follow certain procedures. The property would not be annexed after tonight. It's just beginning the process to annex. And as stated, we would then negotiate that development agreement, because he would withdraw his petition if we don't come to a agreed upon development agreement.
And so that really, there's no damage in continuing going on here, because we still have to accept the developer agreement and negotiate that out in the days ahead.
So I'm confused. So tonight, we're voting to accept the petition, but not accept the variances right now, because I still think there might be room for.
Right, that would be a
There's still room for negotiations between the city and the applicant.
Right, and that's what, but we have to bring up to let you know, this is that he would be asking for these variances and these things. And if you want to give staff direction with some of this negotiation, or, how, because otherwise what it ends up being is staff will be starting to negotiate this, bring back a development agreement with the annexation. So you'll do the annexation, public hearing, and so forth, and then once it's approved, you'll do an ordinance for the development agreement. So that's a different action item.
Okay. Me personally, I'm a little uncomfortable without any compensation out of that 99K, and that's just me, right? This is all precedent setting, like somebody said up here, and one only has to look across the other side of Brown Road in front of the Bible College. There's a plot of land with a lot of, I don't know if those are baby oaks or if those are cedar, but there's a lot of trees right there, and there's a placard up there. Now, that's ETJ Bear County that has a placard up there saying they want to put offices there. So it's Bear County, they can put whatever they want, right? That's why
Yeah,
I
they
look
would still
forward
have
to
to
zoning,
follow.
because the city can manage and have some say on how you build out your property, right? And you have to follow our permits and our ordinances. I'm a big fan of that, instead of seeing all this crazy building going out around our edges, and Bear County really doesn't care. A great point, and I'm gonna divert for a second. If you go up Kyle Seal, which has nothing to do with Helotes, it's Bear County, but there's all those homes that are probably $6-7 million homes, all those lovely communities, and right there in the middle of all of it, Bear County approved an Alamo Fireworks, 2-story, huge, massive fireworks warehouse. It doesn't fit there, it doesn't look good. That's the downside of not having property managed, right, through zoning. So I'm a big fan of that part of it if the annexation gets approved. My concern is, under the current variances that we're asking for, that sets a precedence for other folks to kind of come with the same story and say, hey, you know what, we're going to clear everything, sorry, but we'll let you annex us. And pretty soon, we lose that look and feel of Helotes, which is always on the back of, or in front of my mind. So that's where I'm coming from on this particular topic. So I'm kind of on the fence on this issue.
Okay, let me circle back around and give some comments. Tonight, we're only entertaining the idea to accept the application and move forward with negotiating of the development agreement, which would still require approval of council. I am not I would be perfectly clear, I personally do not feel that we need to wholesale out our tree ordinances in favor to obtain a business. I think you have a good business. I have nothing against your business. That has nothing to do, I met you for the first time tonight. There's no animosity. There's nothing personal. It's just, we are a community that has a long history of people being concerned about our trees, and not just completely removing everything off a property or even keeping just a few trees, but, and that's where our tree ordinance has been. There is an allowance for variance, excuse me, a mitigation for 50%. And even with that, we have a lot of public outcry that we would allow people to pay a fee to get rid of trees. So the concept of paying a fee to get rid of trees and get even more trees and then not pay the fee is going to be a very large obstacle to overcome with me personally, and I want to make that clear. So if a variance was granted to whatever percentage, I can't imagine it not coming with a fee, but council votes, not myself, but this is the direction we're looking to seek. But for the evening, we're just looking for whether we accept the petition to proceed, which I certainly don't feel there's any danger in taking that step forward to see what we can negotiate.
I have another question.
Please.
Can we go back to the picture? Okay, it's already there. So you own the little house there on the left?
No,
on the
ma'am,
bottom?
that's on the net property next door.
Oh, yes, I'm trying to figure out where your property lines are.
Where it's green, the green grass and
Yes,
Just the grass area?
yes.
Oh, I see. And so is it who lives in this house next to you?
It's actually a commercial place and nobody lives in it. I think they're getting ready to tear the house down.
Okay, because I noticed there's some big trucks back there.
Yes, there
That's-
are. It's also a commercial place.
That's a commercial place.
My biggest problem is I'm going from 15 and a half acres to 4.5, basically. And it's hard to get the materials into what I've got there.
Yeah, and so that's what I was going to say. The reason you want to cut those trees around the perimeter is to have more room.
Exactly.
I guess, you know.
I mean, my option, honestly, if the trees can't come down, I'm gonna have to find another piece of property somewhere, I'm thinking, because I need the land. I mean, that's bottom line, is I need the land
Yeah.
to move the materials to.
And you said this is 4 acres?
4.5, a little over 4.5. It was 4.7 until TxDOT bought the frontage.
Oh, that's right, and also it's going to even go back.
TxDOT's gonna take those trees out in
For the-
front
yeah.
anyway.
Those front, yeah, those front ones.
They're already
They're already
gone.
gone.
They're already gone.
And the other thing is, I probably would have a lot more difficult time with this if they weren't cedar trees. These are just cedar trees. They're
That's-
pretty, but they're really, really annoying, and there's no shortage of cedar trees around here.
I couldn't agree more.
The oaks you're leaving, I know, I'd have a problem if you were taking out the
I,
oaks.
I agree. And that's why I wanted to leave the oaks and just take the cedars.
I was under the impression you had it reversed, and so I'm
No, sir.
glad we were clearing that up.
No, the whole property is rimmed by
Tree
cedars pretty
mitigation
much.
is important, but we're talking about
Yes.
cedar trees here.
Okay.
So what's up here for vote is to approve the acceptance of the application and the continuing of negotiation for developer agreement. With that in mind, with no other discussion, all in favor of approving item number 10 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir, for coming out.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to adjourn into closed session. Closed session in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters. In addition to the matters listed below, any matter scheduled for open session may be discussed in closed session as appropriate and authorized by law. And Frank, we can include item number 10 for that discussion. Along with item number 10, section 551.074, personnel matters to delivery performance evaluation duties and discipline of city employee. We'll go into closed session here at 7:44. All right, we're live. All right, we are back from executive session. No decisions or votes were taken. And at this point, we're going to adjourn. The time is now 8:20 PM. Thank you.